Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something that might surprise you. We're going to be taking a look at gender representation on Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
So we're going to go kind of behind the scenes of this iconic show.
Yeah.
We've got some data that spans its entire 49-season run.
Wow.
And we're going to see if its image as this, champion of diversity actually lines up with reality.
Interesting.
What's really fascinating about this is that so often, we think of SNL as being progressive and inclusive, right?
Right.
But when you look at the data, it kind of tells a different story.
Yeah, we're specifically looking at host data.
Yeah.
Are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
In the data skies, we take our flight. Trends and numbers come to life. Colors and charts, they dance and play. Showing truth in a visual way. In GenderDecoded, we uncover truths and stories like no other. In the data waves we find the secret maps of humankind.
All right, get ready, because we're going to do a deep dive on SNL, but not the sketches you'd expect. We're going deep on, who gets to host, and trust me, it gets kind of messy. So you wanted to know about, gender representation in their hosting history, all 49 seasons. And we dug into an analysis with this fascinating visual. It's a stacked area plot. Imagine each season is like a skyscraper. And, the height of the building, right, depends on how many hosts they had that season. Now, the men get all the bottom floors, the foundation, if you will, and the women, they get added on top.
So what's fascinating about this is how this visualization, it really highlights the gender disparity across the whole history of SNL. It's like looking at a skyline of a city, right? That's been built on a history of, let's just say, unequal access. Like that metaphor of the men at the bottom. It makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. And you can't miss it. The blue area, it represents the male hosts. It's consistently larger than the pink area for the female hosts. So that image of SNL being super inclusive, maybe not so much. When you look at the actual hosting data.
Exactly. It's like they built this reputation for being progressive. But the skyline tells a different story. Now it's not completely flat. The female representation. There are some interesting peaks and valleys across the seasons.
Yeah, some seasons have way more female hosts than others. For example, around season 40, you'll notice a pretty noticeable spike in that pink area of our skyscraper skyline.
That's a great observation,
Yeah.
and it's really intriguing when you consider what was happening around that time. There was a change in showrunners, and there's this much larger conversation nationally about the role of women in comedy. Coincidence? Maybe not.
Right.
We dug into some articles from that period, and
Wait, hold on. Before we get into that, I think it's important to maybe explain this whole stacked area plot thing a little better for our listeners. Not everyone's a data visualization geek like us.
You're right. Good point. It's easy to get carried away with the fascinating details.
Yeah.
So imagine, right, this chart has a timeline of all 49 seasons of SNL, just laid out horizontally. And for each season, we're just stacking up, blocks, representing each host, blue for men, pink for women. The higher the stack, the more hosts there were overall. And you can see, right, for most of SNL's history, those blue blocks, they form a much taller base than the pink ones.
Yeah, it's like they were laying the foundation with mostly male hosts for decades, and it wasn't until much later that they even started adding on those pink blocks in any significant way.
Even then, it's not a consistent upward trend, right, for female representation. There are these periods, seasons 28 through 31, where the pink just practically disappears from the chart.
It's like someone just, decided to stop building those pink floors for a while, which really, makes you wonder what was going on behind the scenes. Was it a conscious decision? Were there external factors at play? So many questions.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this deep dive so compelling, right? We're not just looking at numbers on a chart. We're uncovering, a hidden history. a narrative that goes beyond, just simple statistics. It's about power dynamics, cultural shifts, and the evolving role of women in comedy.
Okay, so we've got this visual, right? We've got like the basic trends, but we also have, some serious questions about those periods of extremely low female representation. Plus, we've got those articles about season 40 and that intriguing spike in female hosts. Where do we go from here?
Well, let's unpack those articles about season 40. What's really interesting is that they point to like a change in leadership behind the scenes at SNL. Like a new showrunner came in, right?
Sure.
With a fresh perspective and like seemed to really prioritize bringing in more female hosts.
Okay, so maybe that explains the sudden surge in those pink blocks on our chart. But was it like just a temporary blip, because of one person, or did it actually spark like a lasting change?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? It's tempting to think, that one person can like shift an entire system, but the data tells a more complex story.
Right.
While the number of female hosts did increase under that showrunner, it didn't really become like the new normal.
So it seems like SNL took a few steps forward, but then maybe like hesitated or even took a step back in later seasons. Why is it so hard to like break these patterns?
It's like trying to change the layout.
Yeah.
Of a city, right?
Yeah.
That was built on a foundation of inequality. You can add new buildings. You can try to diversify the skyline, but the underlying structure it remains.
And in this case, that structure is a system that has historically favored men, not just in hosting, but in writing, producing, and all the other roles, right? That like shape a show like SNL.
Precisely. And remember, we're only looking at one piece of the puzzle here, the hosts. Imagine like digging into the data on the writers, the directors, the crew. Across those 49 seasons, I suspect, we'd see similar patterns of gender disparity.
It's kind of like what we see in Hollywood overall, right? Women struggle to like break through those glass ceilings and get those opportunities to lead and create.
Exactly. And that's why this data from SNL is so important. It reflects a much bigger issue, a systemic bias that exists across the entertainment industry and beyond.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder that progress isn't always, linear. There are these moments of hope and positive change, but then sometimes it feels like we're taking 2 steps back for every 1 step forward.
What's crucial is that we don't lose sight of the goal. A truly inclusive and equitable entertainment landscape. The data can be disheartening for sure, but it can also be like a powerful motivator for change.
So for our listener, we've seen that SNL's history of gender representation among hosts is kind of a mixed bag, right? There are glimpses of progress, but also like long stretches of glaring disparity. But it's not just about SNL. This is a reflection of like deeper issues within the industry itself. What are your thoughts on that?
It's almost like this deep dive took us down a rabbit hole. We started with this like simple question about gender representation SNL hosts, but it's become like so much bigger than that. What's fascinating to me is how this data, like this visual representation of SNL's hosting history, can spark like such a wide-ranging conversation. It's like a microcosm of a much larger societal issue, and it forces us to like confront these uncomfortable truths about power and privilege.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder what can we even like do about it? I mean, we're not running SNL. We're not Hollywood executives. Does our opinion even matter?
It absolutely matters. Yeah. Remember, we're the audience, right? We're the viewers. We're the consumers. We have the power to demand better representation, to support content. That aligns with our values, and to hold these institutions accountable.
You mean like choosing to watch shows and movies that prioritize, diversity and inclusivity, or speaking out, like on social media when we see something that, perpetuates like harmful stereotypes.
Exactly. It's about being,
as consumers,
about using our voices and our wallets to support a more equitable entertainment landscape.
So it's not just about like pointing fingers or criticizing SNL for their like past choices. It's about like actively engaging in the conversation, demanding change, and supporting those who are like actually trying to make a difference.
And then it's about recognizing that, progress takes time. It's not going to happen overnight, but every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory worth celebrating.
But to our listener who sparked this fascinating deep dive. We leave you with this. What does a truly inclusive and representative entertainment industry look like to you? And what role can you play in making that vision a reality?
Think about it. What shows do you choose to watch? What stories resonate with you? Whose voices are being, amplified and whose are being silenced? These are questions worth pondering, because the answers, they have the power to shape the future. Never know what secrets are hiding in plain sight, just waiting to be uncovered.
And who knows, maybe we'll deep dive into some of your discoveries next time.
Until then, happy exploring.